สวัสดีครับทุกคนครับยินดีต้อนรับครับ Welcome to another edition of Spot Skills Learning. Today we are going to cover building a basic survey page. And the main reason behind today's lesson is I really want to get you familiar with CSS margins, padding, and box sizes, and how those all play in with the default and how we can change them as we build the page. And also just see a live coding session on if I see a page, how can I copy it and emulate it in both CSS and HTML. ถ้าเกิดว่าผมเห็นเว็บเพจสร้างเว็บเพจตัวเองอย่างไรครับถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากสร้าง survey form นี้type ทั้งหมดโค้ดตัวเองอย่างไรครับและถ้าเกิดว่าเป็น default และเปลี่ยนไปอย่างไรด้วยครับ so without further ado let's get started เราจะสร้าง survey form แบบนี้จะมี required มี name field นามสกุลชื่อนามสกุลมีอีเมลมีอายุอาชีพอันดับของอาชีพของคุณอย่างไรครับ or ที่ไหนครับ so you're a student full time prefer not to say or other แนะนำ free code camp หรือ spot skills แน่นอนเลยครับหรืออาจจะหรือ not sure และ features ชอบfeature ที่ดีที่สุดอย่างไรหรืออะไรครับและ what would you like to see improved อยากเห็นพัฒนาอะไรครับและมี checkbox ด้วยและสุดท้ายมี text area ครับและถ้าเกิดว่าเราอยากเขียน comment if we want to write comments or give feedback we can do that and then finally a submit button and after the submit button ผมจะแสดงว่าเก็บข้อมูลอย่างไรในอนาคตแต่แค่อยากแสดงว่าจะ HTML เปลี่ยนไปข้อมูลทั้งหมดนี่ก็มีวิธีเก็บข้อมูลครับ so without further ado let's get started มี survey HTML ผมจะสร้างไฟล์ใหม่ครับมี survey form HTML ตอนนี้ไม่มีอะไรข้างใน survey.html เป็นหมด it's all blank it's all empty so I'm going to put in my boilerplate ถ้าเกิดว่าใช้ Sublime Text หรือ Visual Studio Code มี emit plugin ผมจะแนะนำว่าใช้อาจจะ HTML snippets or emit plugin เขียนว่าคำศัพท์ doc type และเขียนว่า enter or hit enter emit ของผมหรือ HTML snippets ของผมใส่ทั้งสองลิงก์นี้ผมจะลบนี้และจะสร้างในอนาคตครับ and I'm going to get rid of the JavaScript ผมจะลบ JavaScript ด้วยครับ now in here I want to change this title of mine to a survey and I'll add in spot skills survey all right so now we have my title as spot skills survey for my document และจะเพิ่ม CSS so ถ้าเกิดว่าผมสั่งไฟล์ใหม่และข้างในไฟล์นี้ผมอยาก save as style.css จะปกติจะเห็นว่า style.css this is common nomenclature so I save on my desktop so ทั้งสองไฟล์ด้วยกันบน desktop ของผม style.css body ของผมอยากเปลี่ยนวิธีเปลี่ยนสีของ background ถึง CCC make it really basic และถ้า refresh แป๊บเดียวไม่มีเปลี่ยนอะไรทำไมครับเพราะว่าข้างใน link หรือข้างใน HTML inside my HTML จำเป็นต้องเพิ่ม style.css ถ้าเกิดว่า save นั้นและ refresh โอเคอันนี้เปลี่ยนไปแล้วครับถ้าเกิดว่าอยากเปลี่ยนถึง lighter I can go AAA and it becomes darker I can go AAA and it gets darker so if I take away ถ้าผมจะลบ link นี้และ refresh จะเปลี่ยนไปถึงสีขาว so now I know I have to have this in one time and one time only ไม่ต้องเปลี่ยนสายนี้แค่จำเป็นต้องเก็บแบบนี้ก็ได้ครับ so if I leave it like this we are good to go it is plugged in HTML has called or invoked CSS now in my style CSS I have a body background and in my survey I can work in the body so ข้างในนี้มี body section แล้วครับผมเอา header ครับ so ข้างใน header ผมอยากใส่ text แบบนี้ครับ so inside I have a section header and inside here I have section and I'm going to use an ID for header I have a h1 dot header h1 header title header title and inside header title I have spot skills survey form และข้างล่างนั้นมี p tag และมี header text ข้างใน header text thank you for taking the time to help us improve the platform โอเคเราจะเห็นดูอย่างไรครับ so spot skill survey alright ดูน่าเกลียดมาก it looks very ugly ดูน่าเบื่อมาก so how do we change this up we'll get to all the formatting in a moment but I want to build out all of these sections so I'm going to build out each one of these one by one and we'll focus on the formatting one at a time so this is my form section or my container for the form so what I'm going to do is create a section called a container and inside my container I'm going to put my form ใส่ข้างใน container ผมจะใส่ form ปกติจะเห็นว่า class คำศัพท์ class นี้หรือดีขึ้นถ้าเกิดว่า section survey form และข้างใน section form มี div dot container this is more common nomenclature and inside the div container I'm going to have a form so this is more common ส่วนเวลามากจะเห็นแบบนี้ครับข้างใน container ข้างใน section มี container class และทั้งหมดจะใส่ข้างใน container class ถ้าไม่มี section ข้างบน div container หรือมีแค่ div container ตัวเองไม่เป็นไรครับ but div container is very common ผมจะแสดงว่าในอนาคตทำไม container เป็นคำศัพท์เฉพาะ why is container such an important word I'll show that in the future but if you're familiar with Twitter Bootstrap container is a way to have predefined CSS styling for a specific set of your page so I'll get into that later but today this is all custom CSS styling now in the form we want to separate out everything so div.name section so in here we've got name and in here we've got email in here we've got age so I'm going to build out all of these sections so I know what I want to build ผมจะแค่ plan ใน advance ครับ recommend to friend the favorite feature และนี่คือ drop down actually ผมควร this is radio buttons role is drop down and improvements is checkbox and finally we have comments which is a text area and finally we have our submit button okay so ข้างใน name ข้างในชื่อของเราครับมี2อันครับ2สิ่งที่ครับมี text คือ name และมี input คือ text ด้วยครับและเรียกว่านี่ชื่อ I'm going to call this field name and I'm going to put in a placeholder of enter your name all right we'll see how that looks and now if I refresh I have name enter your name perfect these two are together and here I want to make sure this is also required so if I put in required now I am forced to have to put it in we don't see any changes ไม่เห็นเปลี่ยนข้างบน web page ที่ถ้าจะไป submit จะมี error ถ้าเกิดว่าพยายาม submit so I'm going to show you what that looks like right now and this is my submit div and in here we are going to have a input type of submit and no name on your submit there's just a value of submit and ถ้าเกิดว่า hit enter ถ้าเกิดว่า hit submit จะมี error จะมาที่นี่ please fill out this field ถ้าจะลบ required โอเคไม่มี error มีเปลี่ยนไปที่นี่เปลี่ยนถึง name ที่นี่ name มาจากที่ไหนจาก ทีนี้ครับ from this name here. So if I change this to full name เลย refresh จะเปลี่ยนไปทีนี้ถึง full name ในอนาคตจะแสดงว่าเก็บข้อมูลนี้อย่างไรครับและเราจะใส่ใน database อย่างไรครับในอนาคตจะแสดงว่าทั้งหมดนั้น for now จะเปลี่ยนถึง name and we will put back in required. All right, so we save that. Cool. And let's just make sure we submit. Please fill out this field. Good to go. All right, I can copy this. Copy นี้ได้ครับ I email เพราะว่าคล้ายๆกันครับและ name เปลี่ยนถึง email และชื่อว่าเปลี่ยนถึง email และ type เปลี่ยนถึง email ได้ครับและ name here is email และ enter your email. Perfect. และตอนนี้มี email name enter your email done. Cool. และ age เหมือนกันครับ so I can take name change this to age เปลี่ยนไป name ถึง age and เปลี่ยนไปนี้ถึง age enter your age. Done. Now the input type for age is a number. So ถ้าจะ hover over นี้มีทั้งสองขึ้นลง we have up and down and we can also just enter text automatically. อายุ121 ปีครับพูดเล่นครับ but we can enter our name enter email and enter our age. Now I will submit this. Please fill out this field. So I need to fill that field and submit. Now I get this field. So if I put in Sunil here, it's going to give me an error. Please include the at symbol at AOL or at spotworks.co.th. Perfect. And enter your age. Done. Submit. And now I have all of that information up here. มีทั้งหมดข้อมูลข้างบนครับมีนามสกุลมี name ชื่อมี email และมีอายุครับทั้งหมดข้างบนแล้วครับ so now we've got our required fields done. All right, cool. So these three are done. No formatting yet. ยังไม่ทำ formatting เพราะว่าเราจะทำ formatting ทั้งหมดด้วยกันในสุดท้ายครับ at the end we'll do all the formatting but I want to build out the basic structure so we can see how this is developing and we'll do all the basic formatting one at a time individually. Put some spaces in between here. There we go. And now my drop down. How do I do a drop down? So I've got my class as a role in here so I can pick it up later. And in here I'm going to put in which option best describes your current role. And there we go. Now I'm going to get rid of this input type and I'm going to put in a select and we're going to give this a name of role and option name is role and value is disabled and select one. Now if I go back here I'll be able to come back here and see that this option is disabled and I have to select one. ทำไมทำแบบนั้นครับเพราะว่าข้างในนี้มี select current role so I can have select current role and now I have select current role here and I can now see value equals select current role and should be able to see that. All right, let's leave that out. And now we can add in other options. เพิ่ม option อื่นได้ครับ option name is role and value equals student. And we can see now if we have student there, we select a certain role. And selected. There we go. Select current role. And then we have disabled, so we can't select that. And then we have student. Perfect. Now I can add in my other options. เพิ่มทางเลือกอื่นได้ครับ So instead of student, we have, let's say, what are their options? They have full-time job, full-time learner, prefer not to say. So we have full-time job. So full-time job, job. And we can say prefer or full-time learner. And we have prefer not to say. Prefer not to say. And ikran. Select your current role, full-time job, full-time learner, prefer not to say. And, oh, I think I got rid of my student. That's okay. I can add student back in. There we go. And now I have student, full-time job, full-time learner, prefer not to say. Perfect. If I submit this, I need to fill these in back again, but we will see the changes up top, and we will be able to see how that role came in. So now if I scroll over, my role equals full-time learner, which was what we selected before. So ตัวนี้มี role เสร็จแล้วครับตัวนี้จะต่อไปถึง recommendations to friends. Would you recommend spot skills to a friend? So recommend. And this is going to be radio button. So would you recommend spot skills to a friend? And input, this is radio. Name, this will be recommend. And the value here is definitely. So in here, we will say definitely. And we'll put in a break. And we will say here, maybe. And in here, we will say not sure. Not sure. And so what do we have? We have, would you recommend spot skills to a friend? Definitely, maybe, not sure. See how we can now check the radio button? What happens if we had these as different names? Recommended 1, recommended 2, recommended 3. Whoops. Recommended 3. Well, then we get the problem of checking all 3 of these, which is not what we want. This is a problem. So that's why the name value is very important, and they have to be the same so HTML knows to only select one at a time. All right, now we go to our favorite features. And favorite features, I think, was very similar to our role. And so if I copy this one, I can definitely do that and paste it down in here. And we can do a favorite. And what is your favorite feature? What is your favorite feature of Spot Skills? And in here they've got the challenges, the projects, the community, or the open source. So we can do something very, very similar. Select your favorite. And in here we have projects. We have community. We have challenges. And we'll have open source, free. Free learning. Cool. Now the problem is I have to change my name in here as well, so I can, in Sublime Text, I can change all of these roles into, if I hold Command D and select all of them at the same time and go through, highlight the first one that I want, and then Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, I can change all of these into favorite. Now this name does not interfere with the class name. They are very different. This name is very subjective, or sorry, very specific to these options in here. So if we take a look now, we now have a drop-down menu, which projects, free, community, challenges, free learning. Perfect. Now we're going to go to the checkbox phase, and we can say div improvements, and we can say, whoops, wrong word, div and class equals to improvements. And we can then say with our p tag, what would you like to see improved? What would you like to see improved? Check all that apply. And this one, we want to wrap into a span tag. And what a span tag does, I will show in the future, but it allows me to change span tag จะให้เปลี่ยนไปแค่ text ระหว่าง tag นี้ไม่ต้องเพิ่ม new line break หรือ formatting ของ tag อื่นๆครับ so this is an inline tag that I can use to change specific text. So I will show you what that means when we go to CSS ใน HTML จะไม่มีเปลี่ยนไปข้างในนี้ครับถ้าเราจะเห็นว่าดูเหมือนกันแบบ text อื่นๆครับ so in here I want to do an input and I want to do a checkbox and I want to do a improvements and I need to stick in a value of, let's see, what are their options? Back-end projects, front-end projects, or data visualization. So back-end, and I can put in the words back-end break. And I can copy this down a few more times and say front-end, and we can change this to data viz, data visualization,และสุดท้าย challenges. All right. จะเห็นว่าดูอย่างไรครับ so now checkbox I can check multiple at the same time. And now if we see what that looks like when we submit, we'll be able to see how it comes across when we actually submit this. My current role is full-time job. Definitely my favorite feature is the challenges, and I want to see all of that improved. And now if I submit, I see all of this up here at the top. So improvements, front end, and improvements, data visualization, and improvements as challenges. So I get 4 breakdowns: improvements, front end improvements, data viz, improvements, challenges. So all of these radio buttons break down into and operators. So improvements, back end, and improvements equals front end, and improvements equals data viz. Then I have my favorite is challenges. Then I have my recommendations as definitely. Then I have my role as full-time job. So these are keywords that matter to me that I know in my backend. All right. So once we've got that, now our final area is the final thing is the text area. And if we come down here, we've got div.comments. And in here, we've got our p tag, and we'll say, would you like to add additional feedback? And in here we've got a text area, and the name is feedback. And placeholder in here is add any additional feedback. And if we take a look, perfect. None of this looks pretty, but now we have our HTML all set. HTML ของเราเสร็จแล้วตอนนี้เปลี่ยนไปทั้งหมด CSS styling ของเราด้วยครับ so now we move to the styling, and for my background I'm going to leave it that color. For my container, what we saw earlier, I'm going to change the background to another color. So I'm going to change this one to all white. And we'll see what that looks like. Cool. Now we have all white. So we have the separation between the text outside the container and the text inside the container. ตอนนี้ผมอยากเปลี่ยนไป width ของนี้ถึง 80% และ text align. Actually, I'm not going to do the text align yet. I will leave that alone. And we see now 80%. And we see now I want it to end up in the center. So how do I get it to align in the center? I'm going to do something for my whole entire page where I'm going to do margin, 0 auto, and padding, 0. I'm going to take away all the padding, and the margin auto automatically shifts me left to right to be even. So if I didn't have margin auto or margin 0, everything's going to shift over to the left. But now if I put in auto for left and right, auto left and right gives me center. So margin here is margin top, bottom, left, right. เบอร์ที่เด็ก or สถานที่ที่เด็กเป็น top and bottom และสถานที่ที่สอง the second place value is left and right ถ้าจะเขียนว่า auto ให้ left and right จะ automatically แสดงย้ายถึง center ครับ and now that it's in the center it's much nicer for me to be able to format. So what I can do is give this a border radius and I'll give it 10 pixels. And what border radius does is it will give me a nice rounded feeling as opposed to a hard edge. And inside my container, I want a padding of, let's say 20 pixels and see how that looks. Okay, not bad. Maybe I want to make it a little bit bigger and make it 30 pixels. Cool, nice. Now, above this, I want my header here to be in the middle. So inside here, what did we call this? We call this ID header and header title. So in my header, I want text align center. And now it's in the center. And I want to add a margin top or margin. And I'm going to do top and bottom of 40 pixels. And left and right, 0. All right, so now that drops it down to where we've got a nice healthy on the top and bottom. So actually what I want to do for the top is 50 pixels or 60 pixels and 0 for the left and 30 for the right and 0 for the left. That helps a little bit. Let's make this 40 just to make it a little bit cleaner. Cool. Now we've got some nice spacing in between. And we've got our margin. Now we can work on all of the inside things here. So our first was our name section. In our name div, we want to have our p tag for our name. We want to have that be font weight bold. See how that looks. And one thing I don't like is my font. So I can change my whole entire font family to Arial and sans serif. It looks really boring, so I want to change that. And now, okay, that looks much nicer. And for my p tag, I want to have all my p tags actually be font weight of bold. And I can change all my p tags at once. Okay, nice. And I want to give them a margin bottom of about 5 pixels. Give them some breathing room. Cool. And I might increase that out to 10 pixels. Nice. And now I can work on my inputs. So I can change my inputs all together. And in here, I want to change my name input. And we can make this width 100%. Let's see what happens now. Okay, now my width is all the way out to 100%. And what I can do then is change up my padding to 10 pixels. See what that does. All right, gives me some breathing room inside. And now I can change my margin to be around, I want to do a margin bottom to 20 pixels. And maybe that's too much, but we'll see. That looks about right. Cool, I like that, not bad. But we have a problem here. So when I did my padding, I'm going to get rid of padding. Whoops. I'm going to get rid of my padding, and we'll see the problem here on the side. Whoops. We'll see the problem here on my spacing on the side. Today, right now, without the padding, it looks okay. It looks like there's equal number of spaces here and equal number of spacing here. Let's actually just make sure. So if I look at my developer tools, จะเปิด developer tool และเห็นข้างใน developer tool จะ form และเห็นข้างใน form มีนามสกุลส่วนนามสกุลและจะเห็นว่า input type ถ้าเกิดว่าจะไปลอง we have an equal border, no padding whatsoever, and no margin whatsoever. Cool. So this input automatically comes with a 2-pixel border. Fine. I'm okay with that. But ผมจะเพิ่ม padding และ refresh. Oh, เกิดอะไรครับ Now I have 10 pixels inside for my padding around my content, but that's pushed this out to the side. That's a problem. So how do I fix that? So there's a box sizing property, and I can go to the border box. So then my border becomes the extent of my box. And now it'll bring it in to make it equidistant in all directions. Doesn't matter what the padding is. So that makes it so much nicer to keep everything even around. So it's very important. This is something that is standard in most all CSS. All right. So now we've got my name, and the email is probably going to be the same. So one thing we can do inside here is email input. So what does that do? That tags my email section, and specifically the input within the email. So cool, I've gotten email input done as well as name input. And I can probably do that for .age input as well. Awesome, makes it easy. Now maybe I can do that for the role input too, can I? Can't. Why can't I do it for role input? ทำไมไม่ได้ทำให้ role input? เพราะว่า role มี select ไม่มี input. So let's try and change this to select and see what happens. Okay, cool. Now I've got my drop downs. It looks nice. It's smooth, sweet. It's looking like it's coming together. Now for my radio buttons, I want to change those up. So I can change up my radio buttons for recommendation. So I call this recommend. And in here, we can say the input. I can change this to margin of 5 pixels, and we can see what that looks like. All right, I like that look. It's not bad. And my recommend section, I'm just going to put a bottom border around it, or a bottom margin bottom of 20 pixels. And that pushes that down. Cool. Now, my favorite feature of Spot Skills. So we go to feature, or sorry, favorite is what I called it. And if you ever forget what the name is, a really quick, easy way is just do display none and see. We're trying to get to favorite and see what happens. Favorite disappeared, so I know I'm on the right display. So then I can get rid of that, and favorite will come back. So now I want to make this input the same as these. So what I can do is just add favorite, and I can do a select again. Done. And now I've got my favorite section covered, and all of it's looking like it's coming together pretty well. Le sutai, or almost, we've got our checkboxes. So .improved. And for each one of these, I want to do my input just the same exact as I did before. And for here, I can actually just add in .improved, and I can do input. And we'll see how that looks. Okay, that did not change anything. So let's find out why. What happened here? So we go down to improved, improvements. That's why I selected it wrong. Improvements. There we go. And now it changed. Awesome. And I can add this to my keyword up above and go to improvements. Perfect. So now I see my improvements has a bit of space below here, and I can now go to my feedback section. ตอนนี้ไปถึง feedback section เลยเขียนว่า feedback ถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากเช็คที่นี่มี comments ผมไม่เขียน feedback ผมเขียนว่า comments. So consistency is pretty important, and I have not been consistent. So มาข้างในสมองของผมคิดว่าเป็น feedback เขียนว่า feedback ที่นี่แต่จริงๆเขียนว่าcomments และ feedback ทั้งสองผมจะเปลี่ยนไปข้างใน HTML ของเราครับของผมครับ and I want to change this back to I like feedback instead of comments, so feedback, and much easier to work with feedback for me, and therefore we have that. And inside my feedback I want to also give this some margin at the bottom, so I'm going to add feedback here. All right, so now feedback has some room between that and submit. And now I want to do dot feedback text area. I don't have to. จริงๆไม่ต้องทำ feedback และ text area เพราะว่าข้างบนเว็บเพจของผมมีแค่หนึ่ง text area หรือถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากเรียกนี้เฉพาะโดยชื่อเขียนว่า class เขียนว่า feedback text area ทั้งสองวิธีก็ได้ครับ so whether I do feedback text area or I do text feedback text area, both are the exact same ผมจะแสดงว่าเหมือนกันอย่างไรครับ so if I do this I do a display none, I'm going to comment that line out for now. The text area disappears, and if I change this to display none, excuse me, then I will also have it not appear as well. So both of these work the exact same. I'll stick with the feedback text area because this is better. This is better practice. Instead of doing all of these name inputs and all of these things, I'm just showing you better practice. Calling out the individual element by the class name is best practice. What I've done up here is okay, it works, but it's not considered good practice. So now in my text area, I want to give this a border radius of 10 pixels, and we'll see what that does. Cool, it gives me a nice rounded edge to it, and I want to say this width is 100%. And we'll see what that does. Cool. And now I want to have a height. And I'm going to introduce the concept of rem units. Rem units, each rem unit, one rem equals 16 pixels. So now, based on if I change my default pixel size in my body, all my rem units will change and be altered based on that. So everything stays relative, and I want to change this to 6 rem to give it some height. There we go. So now I have additional feedback. And inside here, inside my text area, I definitely want to add a padding of 5 pixels. So that way it's not so scrunched up. And now I can add any additional feedback. Maybe 10 pixels feels nicer. There we go. And I can also do this in rem units, 0.8 or 0.7, whatever that is. Whoops. Rem. There we go. And now I've got my additional feedback padding in there in rem units. I can also do all of these in rem units if I want to. Just sometimes with these small numbers, pixels is much easier since it's so small. And finally, my submit button. So my submit button is down here, and I can do a class equals submit button. And in here, I will do a submit button. Did I type it right? Do a display none, and submit button goes away. Perfect. And here, I want to do a width of 100%. And there's my width of 100%. I want to do a padding of 10 pixels. All right, and I want to do a border radius border radius of 10 pixels. There we go. Now what I'm also going to do is a hover on this. And a hover is a really, really nice way to just change color or give it some life and show that something is happening. So I'm going to change the background here to, let's say, AAA, make it a darker background. So now when I hover over, I can see the change happening. So ตอนนี้ดูโอเคดูเฉยๆครับ colors aren't that great. There's not a whole lot of life popping in here. So we can change all of that by now adding in some colors. And so I've gone to colorhunt.co. They got some ready-made palettes here. I personally am not very good at selecting colors and palettes and things like that. So my selection might not be that great, but let's just say I want this for my background color. And let's add them up here as a, actually I'll add them directly in. And I'll show you how to add them directly in. So background is pound, and we'll see what the color looks like for here. All right, looks kind of bright, not bad. And then inside my container, I think I chose this scheme. Let's copy that and background. There we go. And so this is kind of a nice way to have a web page. Doesn't look that great, but it looks okay. Colors are soft on the eyes. And then I can copy this one for my button. Whoops. Background. And this will be my button. And when we hover over it, we will change it into this color here, whatever this one is. And let's see how that all looks together. Okay. And now we can change that. Maybe I want to flip these two around. I think I do. And now we'll have a lighter color here, and then it changes to a darker color. So we've got some consistency in our colors and visualizations. So here, this is the final form. Tagarwa pom kianwa sunil, or actually, check the submit. To mi panha, please fill out this field. Cool, Sunil, submit. Enter my email, sunil@spotworks.co.th. Let's submit ikrang, or enter my age, ayu taurai, and let's just fill in the rest. Full-time job, definitely. Challenges are what I love. I wish there was more data visualization, and this is awesome. Keep up the good work. And submit. Now it comes back to this page, but up top I have all of these attributes. Let's break down these attributes one at a time. ผมจะ copy ทั้งหมดนี้และจะแสดงว่าข้างบนไฟล์ไม่ดูอย่างไร So this is what I get on my back end. ข้างบน back end ผมจะรับทั้งหมดนี้ครับ So all of these will be separated by ampersand. อันนี้เขาเรียกว่า ampersand ในภาษาอังกฤษครับ So this is the Shift 7 button on your keyboard. And we can see all of these things have now come in to my back end. And all of these things are HTML padding to be able to show these all go together. So I have to parse them on my back end. I have to parse the @ symbol on my back end, which may or may not already get converted depending on your middleware. แต่ในอนาคตเราจะแสดงว่าเก็บข้อมูลนี้และใส่ทั้งหมดนี้ใน database อย่างไรครับ So there's going to be communication ระหว่าง database team ของคุณ middleware team ของคุณและ HTML team คุณจะเรียกนี้ทั้งหมดอะไรครับ So ถ้าเกิดว่า database team เรียกว่าข้างใน backend first name และมี second name or มีนามสกุล So มีชื่อและนามสกุล field you'll have first name last name you'll have email maybe with a underscore here or you'll have age or you'll have position or you'll have interested or you'll have some different words here but these words are very important data เป็นข้อมูลนี้ครับข้อมูลนี้สำคัญด้วยแต่ถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากดึงผมจะดึงโดยใช้value ของ field และหลังจากนั้นผมจะรับ value จาก query นี้ครับในอนาคตจะแสดงว่าทำนั้นอย่างไร But in this case, we also want to go to a thank you page. And I want to build that out real quick. I'm going to call this just thank you and .html. So thank you. Oops. There we go. Sakot. Took my die. So thank you. Now in my form, I want to have a action. Form action thank you.html. There we go. So now when I save, it will go to my thank you.html page. And in here, we just want to say h1 or duck type. And in here, I'm going to remove all my CSS and remove my JavaScript and just say h1. Thank you for taking the time to fill out our survey. Have a nice day. And in here, there's going to be a section, and we'll call this thank you. Perfect. And now, when I fill this all out again, spot works, co.th, and prefer not to say, whatever that is, projects, none, and submit. Did I hit refresh on that? Oops. Where is my form action thank you.html? Interesting. Spotworks.co.th 38. There we go. Thank you for taking the time to fill out our survey. Have a nice day. And that's it. Now if I wanted to style this,ผมจะใช้ link style.css และข้างใน style.css เพิ่มข้างหลังที่นี้ได้ครับ so I can have thank you page. And inside my thank you page, I can stick this inside of a div.container. And now that I've linked it, all my styling will change. Perfect. The theme carries over because I'm using the same body tag from my style CSS from up here. I'm using the same container tag I used here. So my theme carries over to this page as well. Perfect. And that's it. I don't really have to do much styling. If I want to send this down or bring this down, I can just do a thank you and margin top 100 pixels. And there we go. Now it's more centered in the middle of the page, and it's more lower and eye level appropriate. Thank you for taking the time to fill out our survey. Have a nice day. That's it. And if I want to put a link, I can say a href, go back to my survey.html. I can say fill out the survey again. Or go to our Facebook page. And I want to have this open into a new web page, so target_blank. And we'll see what that looks like. And let's take out this smiley face. Not exactly looking great. We can put in a break here. There we go. And in between these two, I can put in some spacing. So inside my style CSS, on my A tags, inside my $thank you, my A tags, I can do a display none. Make sure I have the right links. I do. And I can say I want some margin in between these two. Margin 20 pixels. And that'll be 20 pixels all around. So now 20 pixels in there all around. And now I want to have 20 pixels top and bottom. There we go. And Cool. Perfect. And I want to have some padding of 20 pixels. There we go. 1 second. Oops. Margin of 20 pixels. There we go. And I'm going to put in some more spacing in between here. And now I can have my space. All right, cool. So I can go to my Spot Skills Facebook page and then see the updates on our Facebook page from here, or I can go back and fill out the survey again. That's it. So ถ้าเกิดว่ามีคำถามโพสต์บน Facebook page ของเราครับหรือโพสต์บน YouTube page ของเราครับผมจะเก็บทั้งหมดนี้บน GitHub ด้วยครับ I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you got a lot out of it. ถ้าเกิดว่ามีโปรเจกต์ในอนาคตอยากเห็นว่าถ้าเกิดว่ามีคำถามเกี่ยวกับlesson นี้จะส่งข้อความได้และเราจะช่วยกัน so if you have any questions we'll try and help you out. If you have any questions please feel free to ask. ผมไม่รู้แปล feel free to ask ในภาษาไทยขอโทษครับผมจะเรียนให้ครั้งหน้า so with that that's the end of our lesson. Have a great day. Bye.